It's not looking good for the AAA gaming industry. Or maybe, should I say, quadruple A now.
Hey folks, today is Friday, March 1st, 2024. As usual, my name is Jake Baldino, here to talk about all the video game news that has been going on this week. It's been an interesting week for the game industry, that's for sure. So let's just jump into the first story about Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Yes, we're still talking about it. It is interesting. This is a follow-up from a story we reported on.
It's actually horrible and not interesting at all, at least the game.
Last week, it squeaked in at the end where Warner Brothers did respond to the, reception of Suicide Squad. If you did miss that news, to catch you up, one of their chief officers, like one of the heads of Warner Brothers Interactive during a fiscal call, did say that the game, quote unquote, has fallen short of our expectations and it's going to be a tough year over year for their games business. But along with that now...
Well, actually, they completely tried to avoid the subject entirely because the failure of Suicide Squad can absolutely be not underestimated, especially considering it's by Warner Bros. And their previous title before that they launched was Hogwarts Legacy, the best-selling game of 2023. So there you go. Let that sink in for a minute. Boys. And then you have Suicide Squad. One of the absolutely worst things ever. Extremely woke, extremely bad gameplay, extremely bad PR, and people hate it. Now, admittedly, some people hate the Suicide Squad because of the dumbest reason possible, and their reasoning for it is, oh, but they didn't save Batman, they actually kill Batman, how can that be? Superman, the Suicide Squad should have saved Batman and Superman, and then they could have saved the world together. It would have been the greatest twist ever. You're playing as the baddies, okay? Woke, garbage, yes, all my yeses, but that's not a real complaint. There's so many real complaints you can do about Suicide Squad and feel justified and proud of yourself for even calling them out. But the fact that the suicide doesn't save Batman and you're playing as the baddies and you're too dumb to understand that that's what's happening is not an actual condemnation of the game. That's just you telling everyone, hey, look at me. My IQ starts with a 0 and ends with a 0.
We do have Rocksteady putting out a statement acknowledging that a patch that was expected to come to bring a bunch of bug fixes and player requests and tweaks is being delayed, specifically so they can work on getting the game ready and getting the content ready for the Season 1 drop.
Bro, the funniest part about this, how can they even do this? The Season 1 doesn't matter because the game is literally in an unplayable state the last time we heard about this. We watched a video about that recently, and yes, the base game, people can't even actually progress in this perpetually online hell of nothingness, because it doesn't save progress. You get new loot, congratulations, what happens? Nothing. The loot's not saved. Your reward is deleted at the end of the mission, and good luck, you have to do that mission again. You can't even get to the end game in this game. So how are they actually not concentrating on that, but instead are concentrating on Season 1. Bro, it's gonna be a disaster.
That's the content update with new levels and the Joker as a playable character. So they're prioritizing that, getting that out to people. That is the first season drop of 4 planned seasons.
That's such a mistake.
But that is coming into question. A lot of people are wondering whether or not it will get to that point with the newest news, the continued news of the reports of player counts dropping. Now, at this point, with Video Games Chronicle reporting that their Steam player count has dropped below Gotham Knights, with, and I quote, the extent that for the past week, the number of concurrent players has never passed 1,000, according to SteamDB. That's pretty brutal. We've also talked before, I think, about the fact
that game is so dead. It's like an absolute disaster.
That Arkham Knight and Arkham City player counts have been reported as higher at times, meaning people are more interested in the older games than this newer joint. So there's that. So as of right now, the game, Rocksteady, everything is like signed on to do 4 seasons. So I definitely don't know if we're...
Look at that. The most sane Australian ever.
Going to see beyond that, but some people are even...
The craziest part about this guy is that he uses boomerangs in a world where guns exist. Also, his name's Captain Boomerang, which should be 15 red flags, not just one. And, well, even he stops using boomerangs in this game because, I mean, why not? Also, the Shotgun has a minigun that seems like a pea shooter, so there you go. Harley Quinn is, completely dollar store Spider-Man, and Deadshot is, well, his movement is so sluggish and slow you think you're in a coma.
Looking at the tea leaves and saying, are they even going to go that far with season 1, 2, 3, 4? We don't know. There are a lot of leaks out there revealing some interesting things. Some Justice League characters, of course, maybe making a return. But for now, we're just going to have to wait and see.
Oh, boy.
Are you one of the people still playing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? I see you guys out
That would be a miracle.
on social media, on the Reddits and stuff like that. There are people out there playing it and having fun. If you're one of those people, let us know what you think about everything going on. Do you think you're going to see the game get to a 4th season? What do you need from it? And if you're just someone who played the game and didn't like it, like myself, we probably know how we feel already. So yeah, along with that, some big news, some unfortunate news in the world of layoffs in the game industry this week. This goes beyond the inside baseball corporate talk here. The first bit of thing is Sony Interactive, an 8% reduction of their workforce, amounting to something like about 900 people.
Get rid of the trash. Also, someone pointed in the comment section before in the last video, 8% is 800 people. What do these people even do? Good question. Probably diversity and inclusivity or something like that. So, you know, no harm was done.
People now without jobs. From this, we know from Jason Schreier reporting that a Twisted Metal live service game that was in the works has been canceled.
Oh,
and
no.
Sony London Studios is officially closed.
Nice.
They're closing their doors. Most recently, they've worked on the SingStar games and some PSVR experiences and stuff like that. But in the annals of video game history, they remain in my head because they were spun off of Team Soho back in the day. The team that created The Getaway, one of my favorite games on PlayStation 2. Then when they formed Sony London, they made Black Monday, the sequel. And then from there, iToy, a bunch of stuff. So unfortunately, they are no more. So we have to thank the people that had worked on those teams throughout the many years for their work. No studio is apparently safe, though, as Naughty Dog apparently had some layoffs, as well as Insomniac.
Bro, look at She-Hulk being all She-Hulk right there. Man, I can already feel it. I can feel it, boys, okay? The Last of Us Part 3, the She-Hulkerage returns. It's gonna be great.
Which a lot of people will argue some of Insomniac's games have carried the PlayStation 5 in a lot of ways, and they can't even catch a break. And later in the week, EA has also announced significant reductions and layoffs with 5% of its workforce to the tune of around 670 people, with both Sony and now EA stating, like, we need to fix things to, you know, right the course of financials and blah, 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 you know, whatever. To me, as a layman, a lot of it just comes down to foolish leadership and issues with money and financing and getting funding for these games. But the big bit of headlines that did...
Young, yeah, approves. Young, yeah, approves, my boy.
Also come out from the EA layoffs is that Respawn has canceled their first-person shooter Star Wars game, which we literally just talked about reporting a rumor or a leak from it last week from Insider Gaming, and remember me being like, yay, they're making a Mandalorian game. Well, now apparently that is canceled. So if you want to read up on what it may have been, Insider Gaming did put out a report detailing some things. We don't know if that's all true or not. Take that with a grain of salt. But at the very least, we do know that there was a Mandalorian or like bounty hunter game, first-person shooter, in the works at Respawn, the people who get Star Wars and also make first-person shooters, and they canceled that. Also based...
know how I feel about saying that that's a bad thing. I think it would have been a disaster. Show me one Star Wars game. Well, actually, Jedi Survivors was good, right? But... you know, everything else has been garbage, especially everything in the cinematic universe involving Star Wars. It's just, okay, you canceled something Star Wars. I don't even think I literally can care at this point, you know? That's how far it's gone.
Based on a Mandalorian, which is a very recognizable Star Wars silhouette right now. Basically prints money for casual fans, definitely. Apparently EA didn't have confidence in it. They thought it was going to be like a financial risk, which, god damn, man, if again, The people who make good first-person shooter campaigns. The people who have been making some of the better Star Wars games recently. And it's based on The Mandalorian. If you can't make that work, I don't know, man. Things are not looking good. Jumping over here at home real quick to talk about the sponsor of today's video. It's Raycon. We've been talking about...
No one cares. The sponsor of today's shill money experience, Snake Oil. Nice.
A lot of talks recently on social media about the next video game crash. The analysts and smarter people I follow don't think it is going to be a crash per se, but it is just a brutal period of the big corporations tightening their belts.
Dude, what do you mean video game crash? I think, by the way, I also subscribe to the idea that there's going to be video game crash, but not that it's going to be that kind of crash. We are literally in a situation where we have, let's see, Palworld, Helldivers, No Rest for the Wicked, a new Elder Scrolls, not Elder Scrolls, but Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Earthree, you know? And, well, honestly, much more. I can't remember, but I'm missing like 2 titles here, okay? We're eating so good right now that, you know, typically I make fun of people who are, you know, so stupid that they can't even save 40 fucking bucks in a year to buy that one video game that they want to play. Oh yeah, Last Epoch and, you know, all of that stuff. I typically make fun of them, but at this point, if you're a gamer, in the past month, the past 2 months, there has been like $200, $300 of spending if you actually want to play the good stuff, okay? And I'm talking about the actually good stuff that people like and whatnot. There's that much of spending involved here currently. Okay, gaming is going to have a crash, but it's not going to be a crash because, oh no, Bethesda's having a rough time by making shit games. Hell no, I don't care about that. All of these studios, Ubisoft, and all of those garbage dumpster fires can go off themselves. I literally could not care less. But just the sheer amount of good games, I don't think people have money now for it. Again, 40 bucks, I'm gonna make fun of you for being absolute garbage at life if you can't save that much in a year to spend on a video game. But when we're talking about 5 or 6 or 7 things that each cost, you know, 30 to 70 bucks, yeah, then I understand. We're actually entering a problematic era and it's too good to be true. So, it is what it is.
Good news to come from this is that some studios are free of the shackles of their big corporate overlords. Saber Interactive is reportedly going privately owned to the tune of like a $500 million deal.
Wow, someone who made Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Do you know how old Knights of the Old Republic are? Probably the people who made it, half of them are dead by now. That's how old this is. I absolutely put no stock in the idea that something like Saber Interactive, because they made a good game, 30 years ago, they're gonna actually do anything good, okay? Because these developers have now worked on other projects that have been woke, garbage, and just flat out bad.
Interactive has been around forever at this point, whether it being like a support studio supporting some big massive title releases with some development behind the scenes, or just launching their own things completely, like the World War Z shooter, Snow Runner more recently, a bunch of stuff. Now they're out on their own, and hopefully they continue to work on games. Along with that, Toys for Bob, the company that has also been around for a while, making stuff like Skylanders. They kind of revitalized Crash Bandicoot more recently. They've done a bunch of stuff. They're apparently going indie as well. So these are 2 companies that were able to break away from that big Embracer Group deal, which has been bungled from the start. So for some entities and some people to make it out of that alive and keep making games, that's a win at least. Now, in terms of releases, things to play this week, 2 things worth highlighting. Expeditions. This is a Mud Runner game. It looks like the Mud Runner, Snow Runner formula, but, you know, structured around a little bit more adventuring, a little bit more objective oriented. And I really want to find time for this because SnowRunner was awesome. I was about that. Also, I mean, the biggest elephant in the room, of course, is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. People have been...
Never played it, never planned to play it, by the way. I know, I'm a horrible person for that, but you know, it is what it is. I never was a fan of the Final Fantasy genre. I never played it as a kid, and I don't think it's bad. I actually think a lot of them are pretty good when you actually look at what's happening in them. But I don't know. I kind of just don't feel like I have the time or energy to just input in something like this, something new as this, because I'm already just packed in, things I'm playing, things that I'm doing, and, it is what it is.
Been absolutely loving it. It dropped yesterday. The reviews have been great. I didn't cover this one, unfortunately. I was working on some other games. So Eric and Falcon did the before you buy. I can't wait to find time to play this. Honestly, I just last night was like rewatching Final Fantasy VII Remake cutscenes to get caught up. Ooh, I'll finish it eventually. Maybe I'll talk about it on my channel if you want to check that out. But for now, good luck, have fun. Also, a new game trailer that dropped this week that was interesting. The announcement of Terminator Survivors. Yep. Terminator, the franchise, has
a Terminator game. Oh boy.
Done many types of games at this point now. A first-person shooter, an RTS in more recent years. And now it's getting a survival game. As of right now, we know it's...
Okay, a Terminator survival game actually sounds really good. There's actually so much unclaimed potential in things like... good franchise, established movie franchise like a Terminator survival game sounds actually pretty good, doesn't it? Matrix type of survival game also sounds very good, honestly, doesn't it? Stuff of that nature. I mean, a lot of things like that could be hits. They could be successes if done right, because it doesn't matter that the Terminator, movies have gotten into complete garbage dumpster fire territory. Same with the Matrix, but the worlds are still interesting. The worlds are still recognizable. So I think there's a lot of potential in that.
It's going to release in early access in October 24th, and all we got is this flashy pre-rendered trailer that just kind of reminds me of a lot of survival games. I'm going to talk smack for a second, but like we get this really cool pre-rendered trailer, and then the survival game actually just amounts to being a crappy looking game where you're punching rocks. I'm kidding. I'm sorry, survival game.
Yeah, that sounds about right to a degree, though.
Fans, I get it. Why they're good. I'm curious to see how the Terminator formula will apply to this, because apparently this is going to take place pretty soon after Judgment Day, with you just being like a scrappy survivor trying to dig yourself out from the rubble. A cool idea, sure, yeah, but I just want to play like a third-person action shooter game where I play as a Terminator. But hey, you know what? Maybe one day. Also, something really cool, possibly, now take this with a grain of salt because this is just from some eyewitness accounts. Nier has been kind of going on tour. There's been like an orchestra.
Yeah, Nier's pretty good. Why? You know exactly why, boy.
Concert thing that Square Enix have been putting on.
Don't lie to me and tell me, oh, I have never Googled Nier Rule 34. I have never done that. Sure you haven't. Neither have I. It is what it is.
Throughout the world, I really wanted to get tickets. I did go to a Metal Gear Solid one. I've always wanted to go to a Zelda one. These are great experiences. Highly recommend them. So for some of the people that got to hear Nier's incredible, haunting, beautiful score in person, apparently at some of these events...
Okay, this seems kind of honestly boring. Ooh, Helldivers. Is it going to be the part that the mechs exist?
But have you guys been following the Helldivers situation? This is... been really funny. I know the developers have been suffering from their own success, of course, rapidly trying to increase servers to make up for the influx of people jumping into the game at one time. And the thing that has been going down this week that unfortunately I was on the sidelines for, I couldn't play.
I think that's it. We know the situation with Helldivers. Anyway, that was Game Ranks. Pretty good. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sensei. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.